People are strange. Something strange.
Is that strange?
That is strange.
That is strange.
Wow, that is strange. This is strange.
And welcome to another episode of Strange Sauna. On today's show, Sheriff Richard Mack. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be with you. I honestly would love to spend more time in Canada, and it's a real honor to be asked to be on a show in Canada. And thank you so much. My kids wonder why anybody wants to listen to me, and I said, "Hey, even people in Canada want to listen to your old
heck yeah!"
Dad. So.
Well, hey, just to be clear, this is a dual nation kind of podcast. So I'm from the United States. Flex is from Canada. So we're kind of like, we're going at this,
the Can-Am connection.
There we go.
Well,
head
good,
to head.
because both countries need it really bad.
Yes, we
That
do.
they do. That they do. So
I shouldn't be laughing, but we do.
yeah. So I know you're busy. You've been all over the place. You're describing something on every show. What are you here to do? What are you all about?
Well, I'm here with a message of hope that we still can take our country back. We can restore liberty. We can restore civil rights that Martin Luther King gave his life for.
Yeah.
And right now, I would really like to ask Canada and United States of America, how many organizations are actually promoting and standing for civil rights today between either or both countries? And I will tell you, I know one for sure is, and that's the one I started 15 years ago, called the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. And when it comes right down to it, every peace officer in these two countries has an obligation to first protect liberty and defend the civil rights or the God-given rights that we were born with as citizens of these two great countries. And government officials, that means that we protect our citizens from the corruption of government. And it is a peaceful process. We put ourselves in the way and we tell corrupt government officials or bureaucrats, say like the FBI or the IRS, and we say, you're not going to do that to the people in my county. And you're not going to oppress, you're not going to abuse, and you are not going to violate the Bill of Rights in my county against anyone. And say we have 3,086 sheriffs in America. What if just 1/3? What if just 1,000 sheriffs in America were standing and defending the Bill of Rights every day? Who would that hurt if every sheriff announces, or just 1,000 sheriffs announced to Washington, D.C., and Congress and the White House and every bureaucracy, the Bill of Rights will be enforced strictly in my county? Tell me who that hurts, except for a corrupt official or a tyrant.
Yeah.
That's the only people that hurts.
Well, let me stop you there for a second, because I was explaining to my wife, hey, I'm going to have a constitutional sheriff on the show. And she's like, aren't all sheriffs constitutional? And I'm like, you would think so. Like, they're
supposed to be, but is she talking about, are they constitutionally elected, so that makes them constitutional? Or do they absolutely keep their oath that they take before they can take their job? Do they really keep that job and or that oath, and thus they are constitutional? So it depends on which one she's really talking about.
Yeah,
because I've
that's a
even
good
had
point.
Sheriffs tell me that. Oh, I am a constitutional sheriff because I was constitutionally elected. Well, that does not make you Martin Luther King.
Well, so what made you want to create the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association? Like, what happened where you're like, I had to do this? You're holding up a book.
That's it right there.
The Supreme Court case for state sovereignty. Okay. What is that all about?
Well, that's the highlighted version of the Supreme Court case that I won against the Clinton administration back in 1994. I sued the Clinton administration. I was the first sheriff in American history to launch a major lawsuit against the federal government to stop corruption and the overreach of the federal government.
Good for you.
Now, I am grateful to the good Lord. I am so grateful that 6 other sheriffs joined me in that lawsuit. But remember, I told you there's only 3,086 sheriffs in America, and 7 of us did this. And I was by myself for a month, and I was scared to death because I said, if there's only one of me doing this, then they're gonna squash me like a pumpkin seed. But amazingly, it really helped because Sheriff Prince, who joined number 2, he was number 2, I was number 1. He and I are in the same circuit court, which is the Ninth Circuit in San Francisco, and we got overturned there. We won at the district court level, all of us, and then we lost at the Ninth Circuit. But Sheriff Romero and Sheriff Coog from Texas and Louisiana, they won at the Fifth Circuit Court in New Orleans. And so that guaranteed us a trip to the Supreme Court because there was exact opposite rulings on the exact same case at the circuit court appellate level. And so the other sheriff joining the lawsuit saved us and guaranteed us a trip to the Supreme Court. And indeed, Sheriff Prince and I were at the Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, December 4th, 1996, and the decision came out June 27, 1997. And this was a long battle, a long fight. It cost me my 3rd election because the election came up and people were sick and tired of this controversy. They said, oh, he's wasting his time. He can't win. He's not going to the Supreme Court anyway. And I really couldn't disagree with them because I never thought we'd go to the Supreme Court. And then I got voted out and we went to the Supreme Court, and I'll tell you what, the victory on June 27, 1997 made it all worthwhile. So it was amazing and miraculous.
So that victory, was that something about gun ownership, or it was like the, what was
Brady
that?
Bill.
Yeah, the Brady Bill.
It was the Brady Bill, and that was a gun control law. And so, yes, it had a lot to do with gun ownership and the Second Amendment. But we sued on the 10th Amendment, which is states' rights. And this is why. Because within the Brady Bill, there was a provision that commanded the sheriffs of America to enforce this for the federal government for free, without any negotiation, without any contract, and with a threat of arrest if we failed to comply. And literally, so they're threatening us to put us in jail. Now, I want to make something clear here. If they had attached money to it, which they did not, they usually do, and they didn't. And if they had, I still wouldn't have done it because we've got enough political prostitutes in Washington, D.C. already, and I wasn't going to join the fray. So this was gun control, and every sheriff in this country has sworn an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and that includes the Second Amendment.
Absolutely.
And I don't do gun control because it's against the law in the United States. And so
one question I have for you is... I
refuse to go along. Yeah, go ahead.
One question I have for you is, what percentage of these 3,000 sheriffs are compromised or corrupt? If you could give us a number, what you feel out of 70%, 80%,
I would say
and how do we get out of this? Is it by voting Trump in?
That's a real good question. So first of all, just because I've spent the last 40 years working with sheriffs, I can give you a pretty good idea. And I would say that most of the sheriffs are good people. Okay, they are. They're good people. They want to do a good job. But there's too many of them in that group that just want to get their retirement and their paycheck and be left alone. And so a lot of them are a little bit shy. Some of them are absolute cowards when it comes to doing this and really just pretending to be Martin Luther King.
Right.
And just stand in the way and say, look, I'm going to defend these people's right to freedom of religion. I'm going to defend their right to freedom of speech. And we're not going to go knocking on their door and try to intimidate them and bully them like the FBI has been doing a lot lately with just people who want to know how do we guarantee the security and safety of our elections.
Right.
And if you question that, the FBI comes and knocks on your door. And right now, Gabby Giffords is on the terrorist watch list because she's been bad-mouthing Kamala Harris. And she's on the domestic terrorist watch list now.
So who is
and
this?
has to go through special screening at the airports.
So who is
now,
Gabby?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. If they're going to be that corrupt, why should we go along with them on anything? And sheriffs can stop all of this. And they have to. If we're going to keep this peaceful, the sheriffs have to be involved. But we, the people, have to be involved too. And I want to make a pitch right here. Folks, I don't care if you're from Canada. I don't care where you're from. Liberty is for everybody. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what nationality you are. I don't care what religion you are. Liberty is God's blessing to each of us, and we have a right to it. And we all have to get involved in this process. And we've got to wake up, and we've got to get up off the couch, and we've got to get busy. And for all you Americans, and this might apply to some Canadians as well, go to your local chief of police. Go to, especially in America, go to your sheriff and ask what you can do to help him keep the peace and restore liberty and enforce the Constitution in your county.
No, that's perfect.
And folks, we have a big plan here. Go to our website, CSPOA. Stands for Constitutional Sheriffs Peace Officers Association, CSPOA.org, and become a member of our posse. We invite all Canadians to join this posse, and so that we can teach you how to work with your local officials, especially your sheriffs, to take back America county by county. And we, the people, will stand with our sheriffs and our local police in defending liberty. And folks, that's the only peaceful and effective solution we have left. I'm asking you to join it. There is $11 a month. Wow, I know that's too much, but look, there's no contract. If you don't like what we're doing, quit. But we really need your financial support. We need this. We're trying to take this worldwide. We're trying to take it nationwide in America. We've already trained over 1,000 sheriffs the last 10 years. And we've trained 350 just the last 3 years. And folks, if they get their butts in the chairs, they don't leave the same. And they take on a new persona. And they're willing to do this and to stand for you. Now let me tell you a quick little story about two sheriffs. This is the tale of two sheriffs, kind of like Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities.
Let's do it.
We have a sheriff in Florida who arrested a pastor, and you had this happen in Canada. They arrested a pastor in Florida. The sheriff arrested Pastor Rodney Howard Brown. You can look it up. For having church in America.
Yeah, during the COVID lockdown. A
pastor is arrested for having church during COVID.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, people, wake up. And I've been out there. I've talked to the pastor. I went to his church, and I thanked him for doing this. And he told me that he forgave the sheriff who did it. I said, the question is, has the sheriff repented so he never does it again? And now there's another sheriff in New Mexico. His name, Sheriff Glenn Hamilton. And a pastor in his county came and told him, Sheriff, I'm not going to close my church. They're trying to pretend that church is not essential. And the government has no control over my church because the Lord runs our church, not the government. And he says, so Sheriff, I want you to tell me what you're going to do to protect me and my congregation in exercising our First Amendment freedom of religion. And Sheriff Hamilton said, and you got to love the guy for this, he said, if it takes going to jail myself, then so be it. But I will do everything in my power to protect you and keep you open. So
heck yeah.
The state police come to shut him down. And the sheriff's there waiting for him at the church. And he informs them that he has deputized every single member inside that chapel.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please raise your right hand? Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico.
I remember that.
And that they are now under the authority of the sheriff's office, and that church, with all my deputies in there and my posse, will remain open. The state police left, and Pastor Caleb Cooper did not shut down not one single day.
That's awesome. See, that's what we need.
Now,
Like
tell me,
this
folks,
entire time.
Okay, let me ask the $10,000 question. Which sheriff do you want in your community? And it just so happens that Sheriff Hamilton had our training 2 or 3 times over. And he was a humble man, ready to be taught. And he was courageous enough to put it into action and to interpose and intervene on the behalf of the people.
So your training specifies, it just really focuses in on the constitutional powers of the sheriff and what the sheriff can do,
That is absolutely correct. And what is the sheriff's role and any other peace officer in preserving our constitutional republic? What is their role in our Republican form of government? And first, everyone needs to know, America is not a democracy, nor was she ever meant to be. She is a republic. And that is what she was supposed to be. And then it's surrounded by the limitations of the U.S. Constitution, thus a constitutional republic.
I try to tell people that all the time. And they're like, how do you know this? I said, guys, because I do my research. I look things up. I think it's what you were saying is very important for people to have an outlet to go to figure out how to fight this. Because I have people ask me all the time, well, what do I do? What do I do? I can't do anything. I can't do anything. And I said, there's a lot of things you can. There's a lot of things you can. One could be moving across the country and starting something different and being in a better place. And, Greg asked me to be a co-host on the show just recently. And I got a bunch of my friends who know I'm into, I won't say conspiracies anymore because they're all true. I know they're watching now. But having this type of information really allows people to step back and educate themselves like I did, understanding that the U.S. is a republic. Yes. And it is a bankrupt corporation, and that DC has its own laws and its own, same with the Vatican and the City of London. When you understand how things work, it's like I found all this out by using the greatest powerful tool in the world right here. I looked shit up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, let me add something to that. Just because government is corrupt and they go outside the Constitution, does that bestow any responsibility on any law enforcement officer anywhere to go along? Are we supposed to go along with corruption and out of control, overreaching government? Just the opposite. Mm-hmm. It's our job to stand for liberty. It's our job to stand for what's right. And we're going to let some innocent person like the federal government now in the United States is really picking on and going after Amish farmers. Because these gang member Amish crooks refuse to pasteurize their dairy products. Imagine that. And they're really going after them. They're really going after gun owners. They're really going after Christians and Catholics. And folks, every sheriff can stop every bit of that. And the abuse of the January 6 arrestees, the sheriff should have been stopping that all along.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
The mistreatment that these guys are getting.
Yeah.
And so, folks, no peace officer anywhere in the world has an obligation to go along with bullying government, out of control government, corrupt government, and these horrible corrupt officials that want to shove communism down our throats.
No, I agree.
We have every responsibility to stop that. So,
question for you. So during COVID, this was like a big deal because, like Flex was saying, no one really knew what to do, where to go. That's when I really kind of looked into the power of sheriffs and listening to constitutional podcasts, libertarian podcasts, where they're talking about the powers of the sheriff and how they can be a very powerful tool within your local community to fight back against the tyrannical lockdowns, mandates, any of these things. But my thing is, there's an election coming up in the United States. And I want to ask you, Have you heard anything about this happening again, or is there anything like coming down the pike where you're hearing your local friends who are sheriffs, or you're hearing, hey, look, we're being asked to do these enforcements. There's another scare coming through with whether it be
monkeypox.
Yeah, monkeypox.
Well, monkeypox is coming, but what about the election? Is it going to be guaranteed to be protected? Are there any safeguards that have been in place to make sure that the elections are integrous and honest, and really reflect what we the people have done? And I hate to tell you this, but everything that we've tried to do, and we were working on it, and we were working with True the Vote and many other organizations to try to make this happen. And the national media called us racist and all these fanatics.
I saw all of it.
And all these other things. And of course, they marginalized what we were trying to do. So the last thing we said, now we've just put this out, and we tried to get other sheriffs just to tell the counties, look, after you get over your addiction to the computerized vote tabulation, let your machines do it. But right after that, just bring in both parties or all parties and have them hand count 2%, just 2% of the votes. Hand count it, take another hour and hand count the votes. And if the percentages are pretty much the same, go for it. If they're not the same, then you need to start an investigation and do a redo. And all you have to do is recount. And you would believe the pushback that we get from these officials that want to guarantee the probability, or at least the possibility, of cheating. And they're stealing the stewardship and the birthright of the American people to choose their own officials. And they have stolen that time and time again, and they want to just keep being able to do it.
Well,
they didn't do anything with 2020. I mean, when I say they, I mean majority of people, patriots that are watching this, will be like, well, what's the point of voting? We haven't fixed 2020. And what's scary for me is being up here in Canada is we had the same thing. We had India and China interfere in both our elections in the last 4 years. Our government has said it's happened. And it's just like, I've spoken to people saying, well, why would I want to vote? So what do we tell people who want to vote? They have to vote.
But folks, there's a certain percentage that if you overwhelm the votes, they can't cheat except to a certain extent.
Yep.
And so the landslides are hard to cheat, and they have to do more and more and more work to cheat. The closer it is, it's easier to cheat, so they only have to do a little bit.
Yeah.
But if it's a landslide, if people would just get out and vote, do you know if the Christians and the gun owners would just come out to vote, this would be a landslide.
Game over. Yeah.
Well, so
it's completely game over.
What have you heard about, there was a case in Texas. Now, this was an in-person voting scenario, right? Where you had everybody going and they're showing up on the day of the election, voting in person, but they ran out of paper. And I'm not even kidding. It's just like the ballot paper. So it's things that you don't even think about, where you're going, oh, they could even interfere by just not providing the ballots.
Right.
So is there anything that the sheriffs can do locally to help safeguard the elections? And I know you've been getting a lot of pushback on this, but I agree. We have to do something to actually help certify this election.
Well, it would be really nice if he would ask the county to do the 2% vote, the recount, of the vote. But if he really wanted to get serious, he should go in and see if every machine has been properly tested as required by law. And then he could just verify that. And what's wrong with that? They will try to crucify that sheriff for doing that, but he still needs to do it. It's under his responsibility. It's under his umbrella. Okay. After all we've been through, for any sheriff to just go in and say, look, what is the law regarding the calibration of these machines? And how, when was the last time they were tested? Okay, show me right now how this is done. Is it hooked up to the internet ever? And then, but they don't have to be hooked up to the internet to be able to cheat, but they certainly know how to do that. But I've been in there to the Maricopa County one, the recorder's office, in 2022, and they took us for a tour, and I was really shocked with how one county commissioner and the county recorder, who we just voted out. So it gives us a good sign that we won, because we just voted this guy out, and he's a liar. And we're so glad, and a Republican, but I don't care who the corrupt person is. I don't care what party they belong to. If you're corrupt, well, he's gone.
Yep.
And we got rid of a few other people as well. And we have a real good sheriff candidate running for sheriff in Maricopa County. And it is the 4th largest sheriff's office in the United States.
Wow.
And Jerry Sheridan is going to win. And we would love all of you to donate to him. Okay, so donate to the CSPOA first, and then donate to Jerry Sheridan.
Gotcha.
And we absolutely love this guy. He's a good friend of mine, and he's going to run a tight constitutional ship here in Maricopa County.
Okay. Flex, did you have a question?
I did, but it was more towards the end, but I'll ask it now. So I asked this to all my American friends, who watch our show. The election, I say to them, I ask them, what do you, not what they hope will happen, what they feel will happen. And the question is, will they cheat again? Will Trump get in smoothly, or will the elections be canceled because of something? So what are you thinking, Sheriff Mack? Just not what you hope. Obviously, we all hope Trump gets in.
Right.
But what are you feeling? Is it going to be a completely canceled? Are they going to cheat so bad again?
Yeah.
Which might put eyes on the 2020 election, which I think might happen. They might try to pull a little quick one on that, or will Trump get in fair and square? So what do you feel?
I really feel they're still going to cheat, and I really feel that 2024 is going to be a bad year for America. It's something really bad is going to happen. I believe that the election will happen. I believe that if Trump gets in, it's because they want him to be in.
Right.
And they will cheat to have Trump in. Now, why would they cheat to have Trump in? Because they want the violence that's going to happen on November 6th.
This is exactly what I've been saying. Yes. Yeah.
So
that and the stock market crash too, right?
Yeah, it might. Yeah, but it's going to really be a bad year for America. And what do we know? First of all, Trump might be finishing this campaign from jail.
True. Yes.
And if that happens, there's going to be so many pissed off people that might start the violence. Folks, no violence. Okay? We can still win this in a peaceful manner. And, they're going to have provocateurs just like they had at January 6th.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, when I got invited like 20 times to January 6th, I told everybody not to go. I did radio shows telling people not to go, that this was a setup.
You knew it.
That we're playing right into their hands.
Well, what were you told?
And I told
what was
people,
the
no way.
What was the excuse to go? I mean, I get go to support.
For what? That's what I said. What would you be going for?
Right.
Say, okay, thanks, Trump. Yay, Trump, you were a good president.
Yep.
What? He's 2 weeks away from leaving. Okay? And we knew Pence wasn't going to do anything. If Trump's not going to do anything, why are we going?
Yeah.
And so, no, it was completely absurd to think that you needed to go there to do something. And then there, how many millions of people were there, and these high emotions, and that's not a good mix.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then the press still tried to blame me for orchestrating it.
Orchestrating January 6th?
Yeah. I was part of the head guys.
The Oath Keepers.
The whole thing.
Yes. So I wanted to ask you, because
I've been able to shut that down.
Well, yeah. So the Oath Keepers get a bad rap, but I wanted to invite you on to actually tell us what is the Oath Keepers all about, and because the mainstream media lies about everybody, right? They create.
Do they?
Lied about me.
Come on.
They lied about me. They said that I was a founding member of the Oath Keepers. That's a lie. I was on their board later for about 5 years, but I quit in 2016 because they started wanting to be national security agencies and kind of a national militia. And I don't mind any of that, because I knew that these people were not trying to murder anybody or kill anybody or be violent. But like, they went to the riots in Ferguson, and they were helping Asian property owners maintain their property, just standing guard with a weapon. They didn't fire it. They just needed to be there, show of force. Most people who have a gun and show it to a bad guy never have to fire the gun because that scares them away.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what a gun does. Just brandish the gun and you probably have saved your life. But if you don't have one, they're going to come after you. But folks, this is the thing. I have always maintained that the CSPOA is peaceful and effective. We're bold, we're courageous, and we're strong. But we will not advocate violence of any kind, and we never have.
Yep.
And we've never committed any act of, in 20 years of law enforcement, I never once committed an act of violence. I never shot anybody. I would have if I would have had to. I never beat anybody up. I stopped fights. I didn't stop fights by beating people up.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I just held them. One time I tackled a couple of guys fighting. And after I tackled them, I said, do you want to go home or do you want to go to jail? They went home. Folks, I wasn't a coward out on patrol. I wasn't. But I was always highest in arrests, and I didn't beat people into jail. I talked them into jail. Of course, being 6'3" and 220 pounds, that helps a little bit.
Helps.
But at the same time, I was a diplomatic officer. And so we don't need any of that. And so they have lied about me over and over. Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League. They've never talked to me once, but they tell people how I'm anti-Semitic and I'm racist and I'm a white supremacist and all this. And it's a pack of lies.
No, I was on a podcast that was kicked off the air by Media Matters. And so, I mean, I was a big QAnon conspiracy guy. And I'm like, our show really wasn't all about that. But okay, whatever.
They called me QAnon once and I said, what's that?
Right? Yeah. So it's like, who?
I literally did not know. I know now, but at that time I didn't. And I don't care. For instance, Flex, what nationality are you?
I'm Greek.
I don't care. Okay?
Greeks are awesome. Everybody's awesome.
I know. Of course. Please make me some dinner. I love Greek food.
Yes.
You know, and my wife and I have always wanted to go to Greece. And we do. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what nationality. I don't care.
And I think a majority of people just want to get along.
Absolutely.
And this division that they've happened. And when I wanted to go backtrack to what you were saying about being civil, I think the patriots, which should basically be everybody in the United States, you live there, you're a patriot. I feel they've been pushing really hard for civil unrest, and the patriots have done a great job of not doing it. When Trump was
restrained
at his place, when he got charged with those 30-something counts, when he got shot at, if the election doesn't go the way, I think they keep trying, and I think the patriots hopefully will keep their cool, because that's the only way. Even up here, we keep our cool up here in Canada because we're slow, like I always say. We're slow like molasses in winter. You know, we're not awake to any of this, but with what's going on in the States, I feel the deep states has been pushing and pushing and pushing for people to revolt, and it hasn't happened.
They want violence.
They want violence, and I don't think it will happen with real patriots. Maybe with all these illegal immigrants coming in.
The only way it could be worse on the election, the only way it could be worse is if Trump doesn't win and we get Kamala Harris and Walz, and they're going to completely put the last nail in the coffin of our Constitution. Yeah. And then we're going to be under the Communist Manifesto.
What do you think about Trump and just his, knowledge of the Constitution? I mean, he's come out with the anti-First Amendment free speech stuff, where the anti-Semitism law and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, hate speech is free speech. I don't like it, but that doesn't give you the right to take it away. And then the Second Amendment, he banned the bump stocks. He,
right.
Basically was for the red flag laws.
Would somebody just please give Trump one of these and have him read
He's holding
day,
up the 10 Commandments, everybody on audio.
Just give him one of these, and because I will tell you, he doesn't know the Constitution very well. And he came out against suppressors on guns too, and he goes, why are you against suppressors? I don't like suppressors. The law has nothing to do with whether you like it or not.
Exactly.
You swore an oath to uphold and defend it, and you shall not infringe. on any rights that I have. And if I want a suppressor, why can't I have one? It's my right to make that choice. And the president of the United States does not make that choice for me.
Yeah.
The only responsibility the president or anybody else in the federal government has regarding the Second Amendment is to guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's it.
Do you think
That's
their
only job.
Do you think he plays dumb to it to win the votes on both sides? You know, I mean, I don't want to use the word dumb, but naive to it to play, because you always want
because
to.
I think you could be smarter about it than that.
Yeah.
You know, so he doesn't need to play dumb, just stay smart. And I think he is a smart guy. But and comparatively speaking to the other presidents, especially Biden and Obama, and now this Tommy Kamala, he's worlds better than these people, because he does have some common sense towards liberty issues.
Mm-hmm.
And he's real good on economy, and he's real good on foreign affairs. But my God, if he would just add some intrinsic value to his knowledge regarding the Constitution, especially the Bill of Rights, it would really go far and go well for him and us.
And surround himself with the proper people. I think a lot of people were shocked how he surrounded himself with deep state. And I know people will say, well, you got to keep your enemies close to you.
And he picked swamp people to be in his cabinet.
Exactly.
And some people would be like, well, you know, you have your enemies close to you. So this is where I feel it will wake up a lot of America.
Well,
if his second term,
he did say that he knows everybody now. So he knows the good ones, the bad ones. So if he does surround himself again with the swamp, we know it's intentional.
Well, I still don't like some of his advisors, and let me tell you why. Please, anyone can please get this to Trump. And I've already talked to a couple of people who said that they got it to his campaign because I know them well, and they know these are people that he has endorsed across America. And I said, if he's in a debate and they call him a convicted felon, he needs to just play on history and say, yes, I admit I am a convicted felon. And you know who else? I've been arrested over 30 times. Martin Luther King was arrested over 30 times. His battle was against corrupt government.
There you go.
My battle has been against corrupt government. Now, I would never compare myself to the great leader of the civil rights movement, but Martin Luther King stood tall and brave against corrupt government, and he was charged and arrested over 30 times. I will stand against corrupt government for the American people and for my family and for myself. And so if you want to try to accuse me of this facade that has been leveled at me and my family, then you go right ahead. But this court was a farce, and each one of this, it was guaranteed by politicians that they would go after me when they ran for office.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it works. You don't make political statements that you're going to win and then have to come and get me and find something against me. Do you know the 8th Amendment says no excessive fines or bail? Tell me that wasn't a violation of the Constitution, the fines that he got. This is ridiculous. Oh, yeah. They've tried everything to go after this. Charges, arrests, and killing him. And it's over and over and over, and ruining his reputation. For God's sakes, they tried to impeach him when he was out of office.
So is this sort of a version of election interference is what they're doing?
It is.
You know,
it is.
And I try to tell
what they're doing.
I try to tell people that. No,
it is.
Well, because it helps Trump. I mean, every attack,
it does
like
help him.
It's boosting his polls.
But they don't get that. They don't get that. They just they hate him so bad. They just want to keep destroying him. And so, oh man, this isn't working. Well, okay, get some guy to kill him then. You know, but this is so outrageous. All of this is just so outrageous.
What do you think about RFK Jr. now? He made an announcement, I think, today.
Yeah, I never knew why he would be helping Trump.
Yeah.
You know, if he's in the race, it hurts Trump.
Yeah.
He's got the most liberal lefty person on as vice president. And for most part, he's an extremist lefty. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love his book. I read his book about COVID. And he's absolutely correct. But he needs to look at the same about the Second Amendment,
Yep.
the Constitution, and American fundamentals and idealism. And he needs to read the First Amendment and say, yes, I think he's a decent man. And maybe the same way, if he would study the Constitution, he could be okay. I wouldn't really mind if he was in charge of something like, hey, how about if they put him in charge of the CDC?
Well, that's what they were talking about, that he wants to be, Trump would bring him in and be part of the pharmaceutical issues we have, the chronic issues we have with children, and the illnesses. We were talking just the other day on the other show about, maybe he'd be great as the head of the CIA. Wouldn't that be interesting?
But see, Trump doesn't get that the Federal Reserve is not federal.
Yeah.
And that he should abolish that and get rid of all of that. Well, that'll get him killed for sure.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, even the CDC, I think all these federal agencies need to kind of go away. Hey,
my dad retired from the FBI, and I hope he turns over in his grave right now. I love my dad, but he was an FBI agent. He retired in 1975. Let me tell you right now, abolish the FBI, abolish the IRS, and about 10 others, especially, also, I should say, not especially. The worst one is the IRS. And abolish the Department of Education, which Reagan said he was going to do.
Yeah. Well, Trump, I think, just said that he was going to either heavily reduce it or get rid of it altogether.
Right. Which he better damn well do.
Well, he better, because this is what people are voting for. They aren't just voting for inflation to come down or taxes to be lower. When I say they, I mean us, the world, because our whole economy runs off you guys. As much as some of my friends are like, why do you care what happens in the States? I said, I care what happens in the States because everything is attached to you guys.
Correct.
I feel that if he does have the right people around him, I feel, like you said, if he understands the Constitution, which is a good point, because I never really noticed that about him. And, just get to the talking points that you said you're going to do and put action to it. Get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of that. And, if people want to think he's a dictator, but all of a sudden the IRS which is a privatized company coming to take your stuff from you, it's just, I think a lot of people will be happy with that. It's just we won't win this until we win or get rid of the media. That's the problem.
Absolutely.
The media, I mean, people are just glued to that.
I mean, we can't get rid of the media, but we can certainly take some action against those.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, get rid of the bullshit.
The liars.
The liars. And that's where I think things can turn. And there's going to be people that will not vote for him because they don't like him as a person. But, I call her something else. I don't call her Kamala. We won't say it's a bad word in here, but I call her something else. And I'm like, you've been in office, you bitch. I'm going to just say it for 3.5 years. So why are you now saying when you get in, you'll do all this? You've had 3.5 years to do this. Trump's been out of the picture for 3.5 years. I just wish people could separate Trump and say, have things in the world and the United States been better with him out? No, just separate the dude. And I think people will be okay with that.
Yeah, and look at probably the biggest election fraud is all the illegal aliens they are promoting to be here. So they're aiding and abetting illegal aliens. That's a crime and treason. And so that just so the Democrats can add these millions and millions of new voters to the Democrat rolls for voting.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you.
That's election fraud.
So you were saying you had some experience with True the Vote. Did you guys have any solid proof that illegal immigrants were added to the voter rolls? They were given
that's already happened, and there was a confrontation in a congressional hearing, and one of the Republicans, I think it was Jim Jordan, pointed his finger at the one from I think he's from New Jersey, and he said, "Is your state putting the illegal aliens on the voter rolls?" And then he kind of mumbled and he said, "Oh, well, we were doing this." And he says, "So you are putting them on the voter rolls?" And then that guy sat there and said nothing. Yes, in fact, it's happening in almost every state.
See, that's what
and
we
Clinton
need.
did it while he was in office.
Oh, I bet it's been going on for ages. I mean, I'm in Washington State and it's vote by mail only. Like, I can't go to in person.
Really?
If I go
I know,
down,
there's a couple of them doing
Wow.
yeah. So it's like
I can vote from
That's all I
here. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
I can vote from here for
Yeah.
one of you. Oh boy.
that. Yeah.
Oh,
And True the
boy.
Vote has mountains of evidence. And we've had some sheriffs make arrests for election fraud. But CNN's talking point will stay there. There's no evidence
Yep.
of election fraud.
No, I've seen
What a joke.
I've seen little articles here and there about his campaign, there was election fraud, he was arrested or he was given a fine or anything like that. But I want to know that there's going to be a solution at the end of the day for the entire country. And
There has to be.
I know it's going to
There
take
has
some grassroots effort. It's going to take some time, but that's where I was hoping that the group that you're part of, the CSPOA, could actually enforce or give the sheriffs the knowledge that they need to enforce these kind of
And
actions.
what we're saying is sheriffs just take a look around, and then we train them in the Bill of Rights and say, look, and then we train them a great deal in this case. And everybody needs to read that case. But the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. That's right here in this case. And there's lots more. This is powerful stuff. We have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction. We, the states, the 13 original states, formed the federal government, not the other way around. And we delegated them certain powers. And if they don't do it, we can take them back and do it ourselves. And folks, the states are in charge of the federal government, not the other way around.
Amen.
So, anyway, you guys, I got to run pretty quick, but
Absolutely.
All right.
I'll tell you, it's more than a pleasure being with you. I'd sure like to do it again.
Heck yeah, anytime, Sheriff Mack. And thank you so much for all your knowledge, all your experience. And I would love to have you back just to tell stories, honestly. Like, I want to hear what you've been through.
The passion that you speak with is important because
Thanks.
we are numb and dumb right now, and we need to wake up a little bit. So the more you can give us passion and love and a stern talking to, because some people do need it out there.
It's true.
Amen
Awesome.
to that.
Some of these sheriffs need a kick in the butt with the Constitution, and then we'll get there.
We'll
Agreed.
get there. We'll get there.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Flex, if you want to hang around, we'll just finish up the show. And then Sheriff Mack, thank you so much again. We'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate you both more than you can know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
I look forward to being with you again.
All right.
Thank you
Sounds
very
good.
much.
All right, Flex. So that was Sheriff Mack. What are your thoughts?
Very passionate guy.
Yeah.
and
dude.
he needs to be, and I don't think a lot of people know the rights that sheriffs have. I
Agreed.
don't think people know the separation between government and state, and like it's just
Well, you know
it's
what? I want to know,
it's crazy.
do sheriffs know all of the rights that they actually have? And that's where I was curious.
I think that's where when I asked him how many people are corrupt, he thinks he's corrupt. And I guess he didn't want to. I mean, listen, I'm going to put him in the hot seat and be like, how many people are corrupt? But I think, Greg, it was more for him to be like, there are quite a few that are very quiet. And the quiet ones, I feel probably know the rights and know it, but don't say anything, because the loud ones, it's like what we say right now. Anyone ask me right now, is the world flat? Yes. Is this or this? Yes. This or that is the whatever.
So the quiet one knows what's going on.
The quiet one knows.
That's always how it goes. You know what I mean?
It
Like
is.
the silent guy at the bar, who's always going to get up and kick some ass.
Yes. No, and I can be silent. I'm not quiet, as anyone knows. That's why I'm on this show. But I also like the passion that he has, because he's been battling this for a while.
Yeah.
I've only been in this fight for 4 and a bit years, since I found you guys.
Yep.
When I was doing my cardio at home because the gyms were closed, and you guys popped up, and I was like, we're when I say we guys, I mean Canada and everyone. Like, we're in a world of hurt, and we need to be educated. And I just feel the more people are going to Taylor Swift concerts and watching their housewives of whatever and this, we are still numb and dumb, bread and circus. And I think that's where, when people that do want to make a difference don't know how, because of the fact that they scare you if you want to speak up. To be a patriot, you have to ask questions about your government. You got to question your government. It's the other way around now. I feel that if you ask a question, you're not a patriot.
Yeah, it's like, how dare you? You don't trust the process? You don't trust the science?
Who
are you? You're not a freaking doctor.
No.
So yeah, like the overall, because I read his background, and when it's so hilarious. Actually, I wanted to play this clip for you because as soon as I watched this clip, I'm like, I fucking love this guy. I love this sheriff.
Very passionate guy, as he should be, because he's trying to tell the sheriffs out there what they need to be doing, because they're actually literally the first line of defense, I feel.
Yeah, dude. So this is they are the first line of defense, and
Yeah.
I feel like during the COVID restrictions, they were like there to protect you more
Yes.
than anybody, right?
Yes.
But so like this is an MSNBC clip. They're talking about like tyranny and all these like sheriffs like stepping up and all this stuff. But then he starts talking about Sheriff Mack. So just watch like the first or the last 2 minutes of this. This is hilarious, dude, because it made me like love Sheriff Mack even more. I'm like, okay, well, this guy's awesome.
Constitutional and how we do not want to, or how we are not going to enforce any of that law.
Now, in 2011, two-term sheriff of Graham County, Arizona, Richard Mack, founded the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association of America, CSPOA. Sheriff Mack was also a member and board member of the Oath Keepers at the time, a far-right extremist group that we've now come to know. He says he left the group in 2014, but he's continued to appear publicly close with Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes, who, by the way, was just convicted of seditious conspiracy for his role in organizing January 6th.
Oh, no.
This is from CSPOA's website. Quote, the law enforcement powers held by the sheriff supersede those of any agent, officer, elected official, or employee from any level of government when in the jurisdiction of the county. The vertical separation of powers in the Constitution makes it clear that the powers of the sheriff even supersede the powers of the president.
Oh.
When the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre prompted a push for gun control measures in Congress, Sheriff Mack, the guy who runs that organization, of Arizona, compiled a list of nearly 500 sheriffs who he said had vowed to uphold and defend the Constitution against, quote, Obama's unconstitutional gun control measures.
Love it.
The theory is used most commonly by sheriffs across the country to resist gun control laws and to enforce harder lines on immigration, but also to resist tax laws, marriage equality, land management, and environmental policies.
Oh,
In
okay.
2021, sheriffs across the nation used the same logic to defy COVID-19 lockdowns and
Oh,
mask
no.
mandates. And last year, during the midtown election, CSPOA and other right-wing groups teamed up to station poll watchers at ballot drop boxes and voting centers. And they launched a direct hotline that was supposed to connect poll watchers directly to the sheriff's office.
Okay. So essentially, like, they want to safeguard the elections. They want to stop you from having mask mandates, whatever COVID restrictions, right? And then, like, they just want to, maybe enforce the Constitution a little bit.
How is that? How do people watch that and think that's a bad thing?
I know. That's what I was like,
honestly,
what the hell?
I don't. I'm gonna have to have a bell here, so when I swear, because I'm gonna have a bell. There'll be a button because I'm so done with this, Greg. Where I just again separate, take Trump out of the situation. Does any of this make sense? Stop tying it to Trump. These people are like saying things that don't make sense. When I say these people, I'm talking about the media.
Yeah.
They don't make sense. Are you that daft, dumb, and stupid to sit there and go, And I think the whole COVID thing, honestly, I think it was just a rehearsal. I think they're going to try
agree.
for something again.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to leave this always on a sour note. We try not to, but wake the up, people. Like, honest to God, you have to look at it. Take Trump out of the situation and look what has happened as the years have gone on. Look what things that Bush has passed since 9/11, Clinton, Obama. There are all these things that have been policies that have been put in place that have made government bigger, stronger, and unreachable and privatized. We're private citizens. They should be transparent. Should be transparency on their side. That's not the case. And I think people, until they realize that, and I think that's what Sheriff Mack was saying, is you got to realize the Constitution is the Constitution. And if ours, not my president. If your president Trump goes in, he needs to do some research, figure that shit out. Figure that
Dude,
shit out.
tell me about
because
it.
they make it sound like this is just an attack, and it's just like now we're finding out 4 years later that what they said and all this didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But their way around it, Greg, has always been, we didn't know at the time, so forgive us.
That's like, I mean, even Trump has that excuse, like people are saying, well, he didn't know he was tricked by the swamp that he hired all around him. I'm like, what? No. He's not that dumb. So that's my whole thing is Mr.
5D chess. No.
Yeah. Right. So I hope, because I literally have a clip of Trump saying like, he's at the table, with his arms folded. He's like, no, Mr. Pence, we should take the guns first. This is right after the Parkland shooting. We should take the guns first, and then we should due process, because, the due process can take so long, it gets wrapped up in courts. We have to rapidly do this due process, take the guns away first.
I think in your meeting with governors earlier this week, individually and as a group, we spoke about states taking steps, but the focus is to literally give families and give local law enforcement additional tools if an individual is reported to be a potential danger to themselves or others. Allow due process so no one's rights are trampled, but the ability to go to court, obtain an order, and then collect not only the firearms, but any weapons in the possession of that individual.
Or might take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system, because a lot of times by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
And I'm like, that is, I mean,
dangerous.
That is the reason why Kyle Rittenhouse is not voting for Donald Trump. He recently just had a viral tweet because he came out saying, hey, my name's Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm voting for Ron Paul. I support anybody who upholds the Constitution, especially our two-way rights.
Yep.
Donald Trump, he's banned bump stocks. He wants to take your guns away first. He wants to do all this other crap. So I'm just like, what is going on with Trump with guns? Because if something does happen, he's already supported red flag laws.
We must make sure that those judged to pose a grave risk to public safety do not have access to firearms, and that if they do, those firearms can be taken through rapid due process. That is why I have called for red flag laws, also known as extreme risk protection orders.
And that's my concern with him, dude.
It comes down, Greg, to what role is he playing? And folks, don't get angry and get all upset. I was a Trump supporter 100%. 4 or 3 years ago. I am not now, because I use my discernment and I just think outside the box. As you, Greg, and I were talking.
You're not allowed to do that, Flex. Don't do that.
We're not allowed to do that. And I realized a lot of things where I was like, he's playing a role. And now whatever side he's playing for, we don't know. But I think that's where America will wake up, when maybe they realize he's not who he said he is, and maybe he'll make it look like he can't do the things he wants to do because the deep state gets in his way, and bureaucracy and all these things. Again, peel away some of the layers, think about it, be smart about it.
Yeah, I will say the immediate decision that everybody has to make is, who are you voting for? And that's all they care about, because it is we have to vote, because like Sheriff Mack was saying, you once you vote, you make that margin of error much smaller, so they have to cheat more. But it's like, are they making it this way on purpose? Are they they have Kamala Harris, she polled at 3%, bro. So it's like, are they doing are they doing all of this on purpose, making us squashed into the corner where we have nobody else to vote for but Trump? And that is my number one concern, because it's now RFK Jr. just drops out. He's endorsing Trump. So it's that
I said 6 months ago on my bingo card, we were talking in the group chat one time, and I said, RFK Jr. might join Trump. And one of our family members, I won't say his name, Danielson, said, no, that can't happen, because, he doesn't, Second Amendment. And it was on my bingo card.
Yeah.
Greg, anything that's on TV is there. Anything they want to show us is there because they want us to see it.
Absolutely.
They want us to see it. So
But
anything that comes out of Trump's mouth, anything that Camel Toe Harris, that's the name I had for her,
Exactly,
but whatever.
right.
Because they want us to see it. So I literally pray that people just separate the two and go look at the policies, not the person.
For sure. And here's the deal, though, is you're not going to question Trump until after the election. True. And that's what sucks is like when you need to make a decision and you have the worst of the worst in Donald Trump, like you're going to vote for Trump. And so you can't really have any discernment in this time because you have to put him into power, right?
And I feel that's what Robert Kennedy Jr. was saying today in his press conference. This is not what I wanted, but for us to move forward, it's either another 4 years of what's been happening, which would be a total of 8 if you can do your math, folks. 4 + 4 = Jello, and the fact that he was going to be pulling votes from Trump, which I can see happening. And that's why I felt he had to make a decision to be like, to get us back on track. We have to have, I don't like saying the 2 lessers of evil with this. I'm not going to say that. I hate saying that, but what's happened in the last 4 years is been bad. A majority of people feel that they're illegitimately in there. I feel it is too. You know, even if I wasn't a Trump supporter, I'd be like, there was a lot of math that didn't add up.
Right.
And I think RFK Jr. was saying, look, we can't have another 4 years of this. And he goes, I'm 70 years old. Go and watch it, guys. Go on Instagram and watch how he talked about how his job was, I want to do stuff that protects the kids, my policies.
Dude, I got to say, steroids are a hell of a drug, dude. I mean,
hey, man,
he's 70 years old. He looks like a freaking 50-year-old stud.
But every influencer on Instagram is on it now. Not me. You know, I'm doing it naturally. I'm trying to get back into shape, you know, without that shit. But I think that's what happened was he was like, we can't have another 4 years of this. And maybe he'll rub off on Trump the right way with some things and stuff like that. But
well, yeah. And just to close it out for me, I think RFK Jr., great on the medical advice, going after big pharma, going after the vaccine schedules and all this stuff.
Which we need after what just happened.
But I also do think that we need some not climate change, fucking, you know, like all this crap, right? But I think that we need some sort of overwatch or oversight on like what is being pumped into the water, because the health effects happen from what we put in our bodies, from the food, the water, and all the air pollution. Like pollution,
it's making the frogs gay, as
it's
Alex
making
Jones
us gay.
says.
You know what I mean? So
Not
I'm like,
there's anything wrong with that. That's just from Seinfeld. Not there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. So that's where I do kind of lean a little bit towards like, RFK Jr. knows a little bit more about that because he's been an environmental lawyer forever. Like he won the Monsanto, you know, like his big case against Monsanto causing cancer, you know, so it's like, we need some of that.
When he talks policy, and I know some people are just, I can't stand his voice. Guys, again, just stop with the stupidity. Just listen to him. Forget about the voice. There's a lot more annoying voices out. My voice can be annoying. Just stop. It doesn't matter. But
he just needs an AI of like voice generator, you know, put the voice box in.
That's it. I was using it yesterday for editing. It's amazing what it can do. I just don't like how one side is saying to the other side what each side's done bad. And when Trump says, I'm going to do this, if you're going to do this, explain how. When Robert Kennedy Jr. talks about that, he explains how. When he had his own debate or town hall because he wasn't invited to the debate, I watched that. And I'm like, he's explaining how we need to do things. I can't just say I'm going to cut or get rid of taxes. Explain how. How would I do that? Why would I do that? So I think when you just throw out the
like Trump does all the time. I'm going to stop the war. 24 hours.
How?
Yeah.
You have it on auto dial and you can just press the button and go done.
Bada bing, bada boom, chabella.
You know, so I do like the fact that he can I don't know what the word. I just brain fart right there because it's just too much. It's Friday.
Too much, yeah.
It's Friday.
No, I get you. We're closing out anyway. So I mean, RFK Jr. We'll see what he does. I still don't trust the guy 100%. I think he's partly.
But we shouldn't trust anyone 100%.
No,
that's part of our discernment. That's what makes us human beings. If you trust in something 100%, in a person, or in a group, or in the government, or a political party, that's where it gets dangerous. Each side has different things. I just feel that the one side has nothing really for value right now. They destroyed your country, and I think RFK Jr. has brought over those moderate Democrats over to the Trump side, who may not like Trump, but they're like, hey, we weren't that bad for those 4 years Trump was in, minus the mean tweets. This is a shithole right now.
No, I get you, man. Well, before we get out of here, everybody go to the CSPOA.com. That's Sheriff Mack's organization, and I looked into him. I think it's a really good thing, dude. I feel like that's a really good organization.
$11, folks. You spend that on one drink from Starbucks. Starbucks is not going to change the changes you want. This stuff will.
Not going to help protect your county.
It's not.
So, all right, man. Well, yeah, good episode. And then everybody, until next time, stay steamy.